Hold Beer here. Thank you, people, for tuning in and keeping track with us as we move through our journey into making this podcast what we hope people want to see. It's going to be a little bit of a different episode today, just due to the fact that I'm on vacation and Matt's got some things going on. So I'm going to record this one tonight. It's going to be a little bit more brief than usual, which some of you will probably appreciate. And I'm going to re-edit it and release it for tomorrow morning. So we'll see how this goes, especially with the spotty internet I have. It may be a late release. So if you see this pop up on your subscription feed a little bit later in the day, just know that I am in Colorado. So I'm 2 hours later than, or earlier. Anyway, if it's 8 o'clock here, it's 10 o'clock there. So since most of my listeners are probably in the East Coast. So without further ado, let's say I'm drinking a double IPA, Escape Artist from somebody. Bearded Iris Brewing Company out of Nashville, Tennessee. I picked this up before heading up to almost 11,000 feet in Denver. So hopefully it doesn't kill me because it's kind of late right now that I'm recording too. Well, actually my laptop says 11:17, but it's actually 9:17. So, but anyway, so I'm going to give this a try. I'm just going to share some news. Some of it you probably have heard of, some of it you likely will not have, and just going to go from there. And it'll probably be about 20 minutes. So cheers. All right. So since I'm not in the state of Florida, I may as well start with a Florida man story and go with the Hold My Beer segment. And I just looked this up today, just curious if I periodically look up Florida man. I did before I did the podcast, and I do it even more so now, just because we have a whole segment on it on the podcast. So I kind of want to see what there is to offer to the podcast. But this one I found, and it was the very first thing when I searched, and it's definitely a Florida man story. So it says that on Yahoo News, it says Florida man allegedly pulls gun on Starbucks employee over botched order, but not just on any employee. He actually pulled the firearm on the local police chief's daughter, who was working the counter, according to the Miami Gardens authorities. Says he thinks the order was wrong. I don't know if you've ever gotten your order wrong, but generally most of us, Florida man or no, don't tend to pull a gun on the person at the counter over it. So he berated her, drove off, and then and of course got arrested. I mean, come on, it's Starbucks. It's not worth going to prison over. But he was only being held on $10,000 bond, which I thought was kind of maybe a little bit too little. I don't know, but maybe that's just on point with what he's being charged with. But, you know, let's let this be a lesson to you, possible potential Florida men or women out there. It's not worth going to prison for brandishing a firearm over some missing cream cheese. Just go back and get some cream cheese. It's that simple. Or just deal without cream cheese. Honestly, I'm a big cream cheese fan, so I get being frustrated when it's not in the bag. But he returned to the store to berate this person over some cream cheese when he could have just showed back up and asked for the cream cheese. I don't get it. Or just kept going. If you're in that much of a hurry to leave after you pulled the gun, I don't know. Clearly I'm not a Florida man who's going to be pulling a gun on somebody over some cream cheese. But anyway, that's our Hold My Beer Here segment for this week. Let me know what level of messed up on your order, or what would they have to do for you to even have that cross your mind. Drop it in the comments, put it up on our Twitter, drop it on the YouTube comments, which that may take a real long time to upload, but just let us know, would they have to spit in it, some other bodily fluid, Yeah. Anyway, so going to move beyond that because now I've started talking about bodily fluids and stuff, and I don't necessarily want to be doing all that. Some of you may know, especially if you follow soccer or football, as obviously it's known internationally to everyone but the United States. A Danish professional soccer player collapsed on the field and has been fitted with an internal pacemaker and defibrillator. They were in a European Championship match. Those of you that are Florida Gator fans, like if you watch the video, it's going to bring to mind Keontae Johnson, obviously. I don't know that Keontae had a pacemaker put in and defibrillator, but so probably some very different issues going on between the two of them. But he has been released from the hospital. They say he basically his heart stopped on the field and they had to do CPR and stuff to get it going, I believe. So it's good to see that he made it through that. He put out a statement via the national team Twitter account, just saying, thanks for all the well wishes, and he'd be watching the games going on. I know that some of the other teams have been, doing little stoppage of play, kicking the ball out of bounds right after the beginning, kneeling, a moment of silence in his honor. So it's nice to see a little bit of unity. Obviously, there's not a lot of unity in sports, and it's a shame that sometimes it takes, something that tragic to happen to really bring to mind that, it's just a game, keeping it on the soccer front. I did see this came across my ESPN alerts on my phone that all Mexico soccer fans have been banned from their World Cup qualifiers because they've chanted homophobic phrases at previous events, which is that's a pretty good punishment in my mind. And maybe it'll get some of the fans to step back and take a look at their actions. I mean, will it? Probably not, because people that do that kind of stuff, they either don't care or they're like, it was worth it, or their personal feelings about something overwhelm all logic. So the team got fined $73,000 as well. It said they used homophobic chants in the Olympic tournament qualifiers against the Dominican Republic and the U.S. Now, I did see someone say that some of the words they were using had multiple definitions within the language. I have no idea. I'm not going to speculate. And clearly, FIFA thought that they weren't using it in a different meaning. And maybe the other meanings just wouldn't make sense within the context of the other words used. I don't know. But so I thought that was pretty interesting and a pretty intense punishment. Probably pretty well deserved. So I'm going to move into talking about a little bit of alcohol, and then going to move into just closing it out and making this a very brief, just kind of touch in episode. Matt is missed because I missed the byplay of having someone else to talk to. So, and damn, I'm sitting right in front of an open window and it's cold as shit. I'm going to mention there is a I think I woke up my wife. I'm trying to keep it down, but we are what we are. There is and we had talked about on 2 or 3 episodes ago on this podcast about the various hops and kind of the flavor profiles you can get from them. So I noticed that vinepair.com has a hop aroma poster, which I've been think I need to pick up myself. But it's pretty in-depth. It's got a bunch of different hops listed. I think it's pretty cool. But obviously, if you're a fan of beer like myself, it's probably a lot more interesting. But hopefully, if you're listening to this, you are a beer fan, and if you're not a beer fan and you're listening to this anyway, thank you. But hopefully, this will be some information that'll make beer a little bit more interesting and a little bit more accessible. So the poster just goes into about the different various hops and different taste profiles between various hops. It seems like it might be a pretty good high quality poster. So if you want to get that, you can get that on vinepair.com store. And we are not sponsored by VinePair, but if they do want to sponsor us, hit me up. I'd be glad to push anything. And plus I use your site for a lot of news. So thank you. And on the VinePair note, I saw this come across my RSS feed, and it's also on vinepair.com. And they said, we asked 13 winemakers, what's your go-to beer? Just, because, if you like beer, you like wine, whatever the case may be, a lot of people enjoy beer because it's easy to relax to, easy to sit around and sip. Whereas, some other, like, especially if you're into, brewing a lot of, or making a lot of wine, you may want to like dip your toes into beer a little bit more. And the 13 that, like, let me see, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like 12. It says the best beers recommended by winemakers. And, you'll get some of these that you're like, okay, fancy beer, or, well-known craft beer. So you get like Russian River, Apical Dominance, Stone Delicious IPA, Pilsner Urquell, which, is, I enjoy it, but I'm not sure if it qualifies as craft beer, but whatever. And then there's some I've never heard of. You get Blue Mountain Brewery, Full Nelson, Pizza Port, Ponto Session IPA. I assume some of these are a lot more regionally known, depending on where the winery is located. And then you get to some of them and you're like, okay, I can kind of see it. Like, I do drink some of these on just occasions, even though they're not maybe the most craft beer of beer. I like Corona or Coors Light, Modelo, Tecate. So you can see that there's a lot of variance. And I totally get, because, when say you're just out in the field doing your wine thing and checking on your grapes or whatever the case may be, and you come back up to whatever building it's at, reach in the cooler, I could totally see someone pulling out a Coors Light and just, it's light, easy, keep it super cold, drink it, and it's not super boozy. So I could totally see some of these. So yeah, just know that people that make wine and enjoy, obviously, the process of making wine, and they're heavily involved in it, they like a lot of the same beers you do. So whenever you're reaching into your fridge and you're pulling out, a macro, Coors Light, just know that, who is it? That at the Fox Run Vineyard in Penn, New York, Peter Bell, the winemaker there, will reach into his cooler and pull out a Coors Light as well. So you're not alone. I thought that was interesting. I was expecting a full, super fancy, kind of rare, or just more regionally expected. I don't know. So yeah. So they're just like us. They may be fancy, they may make fancy wine, but they're exactly like us. And sometimes you just need something that's an easy go-to beer that you don't have to think about too much. I want to shout out one of the longtime great breweries in this country, Ballast Point. They are reaching 25 years this year. They started in '96. I've long appreciated Ballast Point. I haven't picked up any in a while, just because when you go to the store and you see something new and you're like, yeah, I want to buy that, you sometimes skip over some of the things that you've long appreciated. But they're releasing a limited release 25th anniversary mix pack. So it's going to be 4 of their kind of like classic beers that they made along the way, starting with their Amber Ale, which they started brewing in 96, their California Kolsch, which is, I mean, if you know beer, you know what a Kolsch is, but German style pale ale, also in 96. Sculpin, which is one of the first IPAs I ever actually got into and drank, especially the grapefruit Sculpin. They started brewing that in 2005, and then this year they started brewing Big Gus, so you get a little bit along the way. So they're a known and big brand. So if you see that in the store, go ahead and grab that and celebrate one of the big dogs in American beer, celebrating pretty big anniversary in 25 years. So, but yeah, so the last thing I wanted to mention, I found this on brewbound.com. There's a brewery called Four Peaks Brewing, and they, let me see. So they have, for the last 11 years, have been putting money towards grants or just donating money to teachers in their region, which, where are they at? Peaks Brewing. So they are in Tempe, Arizona. So like for the last decade, a little over a decade, they've been giving money out to local teachers to help them be able to buy supplies. I don't know how many of you know this, but a lot of times teachers have to buy the supplies to really be able to teach. It's one of the kind of messed up things about the way our funding is for schools, but I'm not going to get into that too much. But a lot of teachers end up dipping into their own pocket to make sure that they have the supplies they need for schools. So Four Peaks has been using both direct donations and beer sale fundraising to buy the supplies that teachers in their local area need, scissors, staplers, pencils, papers. And then this year, on the 11th anniversary of it, they're going to be giving away $1,000 grants for school supplies to 11 teachers nationwide. To receive a grant, a teacher has to be nominated, like many other things of this nature, by somebody, or even nominate themselves. You can go on fourpeaks4teachers.org/nominate. It says current and former students, parents, fellow faculty, and even the teachers can nominate themselves. You just provide the teacher's name and the school, fill out some contact information, and then in 200 words or less, explain why you're nominating and why that teacher should win. So if you'd like to help out a teacher that you know or a teacher that's in your life, go to that website. I'll try to tweet it out when I do the editing and uploading later, hopefully uploading later, and just, nominate them. Even, just getting them nominated if they don't win, it is what it is. But if they do win, you'll be helping out both that teacher in your life and also the students that are taught by that teacher. So yeah, I definitely hope you all will go and just check it out at the very least, and see. And I think that's going to be it for today. I know this is a weird episode and it's not very long, and this light over my shoulder, I didn't even notice until just now. So it's not the perfect quality if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening, you don't have to see my terrible quality webcam on my terrible laptop trying to do its thing. So you're probably better off for it. But yeah, so thanks for listening. I would appreciate comments, likes on our YouTube, and drop us a 5-star review if you're on Apple, and give us a follow on whichever podcast site you're using to listen to us. We'd always love to hear from you. So if you go to @coldbeerherepod on Twitter. You can just drop us a line, let us know what you think. If you come across any interesting Florida Man news or any just good beer news or even alcohol, we've talked about non-beer alcohol related stuff, feel free to just comment that to us, DM it to us, and we'll look into it and probably talk about it. I do find a lot more stuff than I generally end up talking about. Today's a little bit different because I just kind of buzzed through a lot of news stories, but usually with Matt here, we get into it a little bit more and get a discussion going. So it's a little bit weird doing it by myself, but wanted to have something to release tomorrow or today as you're listening to it now. So give me a follow if you want to. It's at He's Going to Score. If you don't follow me, it's fine. I usually just BS on there anyway. And you can follow Matt and the Bay Cannon folks at Bay Cannon Beer on Twitter. And those will also be edited onto the video if you need to find us that way. So thanks for listening. You have a great day and a great week. I'm going to be spending the rest of this week in Colorado, so just know that my day is probably going pretty well. Cheers. You have a great evening or great day.